Tell me if any of this sounds familiar. You walk into a holiday gathering, taking one step in through the door, and before you've even taken off your coat, you feel your whole nervous system just shift. Someone comments on how big your kids have gotten. Someone else asks if you brought anything to the gathering. A tia calls out from the kitchen to come help. And just like that, you're 12 again. You didn't even put your bag down, and somehow you're on napkin duty, kid duty, and emotional support duty all at once. And even though you're a grown woman, raising a family, running a home, doing a million things behind the scenes, the holidays have a way of pulling us back into our old roles before we even notice. Today, in our anti overwhelm holiday series, we're breaking it down gently. You're going to leave with clarity, simple scripts, and grounded tools so that you walk into these gatherings feeling more like yourself and not overwhelmed the moment you walk in. If you're already feeling the tension of navigating relatives' expectations and the holiday drama, this one's for you. Let's get into it. You're listening to the Free to Be Mindful podcast, where busy moms get practical tips and real talk conversations to find calm, joy, and a little more breathing room in everyday life. I'm Vanessa, licensed therapist, mom coach, and a mom to a tween and toddler. Each week, we get honest about motherhood and mindset, helping you live with more presence, less pressure, without losing your, well, here we go. Hello and welcome to episode 289 of the Free to Be Mindful podcast. I hope that you're feeling good, looking good, and doing better in this world than you were yesterday. So there's something about going back home or stepping into a room full of family that activates this old brain wiring that we didn't even realize was there. You walk in as the grown, capable woman you are, degrees, careers, kids, bills, and 20 minutes later, you're suddenly the younger version of yourself who was told, don't talk back, go say hi to everyone, and just let it go. And it's not because you're weak, but it's because family dynamics aren't just emotional, they are cultural, generational, and deeply patterned and ingrained in our brains. And in many of our families, this invisible hierarchy takes effect as soon as we walk in. The elders are on top, the tias who run the house, we're all in the kitchen, and there's an unspoken expectation that certain people lead the conversations and others, usually the younger ones, even if you're in your 40s, just follow the rules. Your brain doesn't see this 2025 version of you. It goes and remembers the 10-year-old version of you. The tone your parents took when they wanted you to behave, the silence that signaled, drop it and don't you dare bring it back up, and the comments about your personality or your decisions that stayed with you much longer than anyone ever realized. These messages don't just disappear, they really live in our nervous system. And then when you have kids of your own, the pressure then doubles because now you're managing snacks, naps, outfits, meltdown prevention, and you're still trying to look like you're relaxing and enjoying the holidays while you're trying to be present with your family. You're also trying to protect your kids from overstimulation to avoid any unnecessary drama and to manage the version of yourself that still feels obligated to keep the peace. It's all just too much. And this is why holiday gatherings sometimes feel much heavier than they should. You're not just walking into a house, you're really walking into history. But there's a hopeful part that once you really understand what's happening, once you shine a light on these patterns, then you can start rewriting what's happening and really rewiring your brain. And the first step in this rewriting is noticing how all of this actually shows up inside of you and not just in your thoughts, but really in your body. Before we talk about boundaries, we first need to talk about what's happening in our bodies because the body always reacts before our mouth ever does. And if we're being honest, we know the people who push our buttons, the ones who comment on your kids' behaviors, the one who say, when I raise my kids, they never dot, dot, dot. The ones who think that your work is cute or don't acknowledge that your business is actually a real business. the ones who question your choices. These triggers aren't just mental. Your body always keeps the score and tells you the truth first. Because have you ever noticed your jaw tightening when someone makes that one comment? Have you noticed how your shoulders creep upward to your ears when someone tells you how you should parent? Have you noticed how your chest tightens when you're compared to a cousin? Have you noticed your patience evaporating out of nowhere when your kid suddenly up? These aren't random reactions. Those are early warning signs, your personal dashboard, so to speak. It's like your nervous system is whispering, hey, we've been here before. And because all of these reactions are so automatic, most of us don't even notice them until we're far into it and already overwhelmed. But the more aware you become, the more power that you gain. But one of the most important and powerful things that you can do before the holiday gatherings even start is to identify what usually gets you. Not to judge yourself, but instead it is to prepare. Awareness gives you these options where you can say, okay, this moment would typically get to me, and my family probably knows that. And once you know that for yourself, you're already one step ahead. So here's where you can start before the family gathering even pops up. You can ask yourself these questions. Who is the person who usually triggers discomfort or irritation? What patterns or comments sends me into emotional overdrive? And what physical cue shows up first? Is it heat, tension, tight breathing, or a drop in your stomach? Once you know the answers to these questions, then you're not walking in blind. You're walking in prepared. And this is not, again, about judging yourself. This is about grounding yourself so that you don't end up spiraling or snapping when you really didn't want to. So, awareness allows us to respond instead of react. And that is the root of all mindful parenting and mindful living in these family settings. And once you know what sets you off and how it feels in your body, it makes a lot more sense why the word boundaries can feel so big and sometimes heavy in families like ours, which is exactly what I want to unpack next. Because I'll tell you, when someone says setting boundaries with your families, my first reaction is, yeah, that's cute, but not in my family. Because for many of us, boundaries weren't modeled, they weren't honored, and they weren't even part of the vocabulary. And setting a boundary sometimes can feel like you're signing up for a debate that you never asked for, a whole telenovela, a family meeting that you didn't schedule. And then you think, you know what? I just want to avoid all this because it all feels so heavy. But the surprising truth is that it doesn't have to feel heavy. And even avoidance can be a boundary if you use it intentionally. If you know certain conversations lead to nowhere, you don't owe anyone an explanation for stepping away. If you know how sharing certain details invite judgment onto you, you're allowed to keep things private. Privacy is a boundary. And if you know someone always escalates conflict, quiet distancing is a boundary too. When I picture the word boundary, again, I immediately think of one person holding a huge stop sign while the other person looks disgusted and is ready to throw down, like a full holiday showdown. But boundaries do not always need to mean or look like confrontation. They don't always require raised voices and they don't require permission or a dramatic announcement before dinner. Boundaries can be really soft, subtle, and calm. They can be leaving a little earlier, not engaging in a debate, changing the subject, keeping certain details of things private, taking a walk outside, or even redirecting your kids. Boundaries aren't necessarily about controlling others. They're about managing your own energy, time, and your own well being so that you're not completely tapped out by January 2nd. And protecting your emotional bandwidth is also a boundary. And if you do choose to set a verbal boundary, the key is clarity and brevity. You don't need a 10 sentence justification for why you're choosing peace. So now that we've made boundaries a little less like a courtroom scene and more like something that you can actually use, let's get practical and talk about what these boundaries can actually sound like in real life. And that is to prepare by knowing what scripts you can use again before you even get to the family gathering. Because sometimes we freeze not because we don't know what we want, but because we don't know what to say. And because remember, our brain goes back to functioning like our 10-year-old self, let's say. So these scripts that I'm about to share with you are short on purpose because the shorter you keep it, the less there is to argue it. Here are a few one liners that you can use in different types of situations. Script one: we're doing it differently this year, but thank you for understanding. Use this when you're invited to participate, let's say in a tradition that doesn't quite work out for you anymore, or when you can't attend multiple events, or when you're being pressured to keep things the same. Script two: I won't be able to stay that long, but I'm so grateful we made it. Use this when you know that staying too long leads to meltdowns, whether it be your kids or your own meltdowns, or when you're protecting bedtime overstimulation or just your own sanity. Script three: I hear you, and we have a plan that works for us. Use this one when someone gives you unsolicited advice, when someone questions your parenting choices, or when someone tries to override what you already decided. And script four: I'm going to step away for a moment. I'll be right back. Use this one when you want to regulate before responding, when you feel yourself getting heated, and when you know that you may say something you'll regret later on. Did you notice the patterns? All of these scripts are short, they're all even tempered, they're clear, calm, and respectful. We're all used to talking a ton, especially as women. And that's when our emotions can get the best of us. Know that you don't need a presentation and you don't need anyone's approval. And also know that your tone matters much more than your words. It's not what you say, it's really how you say it. And when we stay calm and brief, we make the boundary stronger instead of making it harsher. And listen, I know that the urge to over explain is real because we want everyone to understand that we're still nice. But sometimes the kindest thing that we can do for everyone is just to keep it simple. And when we start using language like this, it also allows us to rethink what respect really means in our families, which brings us to the next layer of this conversation because I'm about to share something with you. And especially if you're Latina, it may knock your socks off. It even made me stop and think about this when it was first a light bulb that went off in my mind. And that is, respect is not the same as obedience. Let that really sink in. Respect is not the same as obedience. And I know that we grew up believing that they were the same thing, but they actually aren't. In many of our cultures, respect meant being quiet even when you didn't agree, or putting elders before yourself, even if it hurt. But as adults, especially as moms, we may be understanding that it means something different, something more mutual, more reciprocal. And it means that respect includes you. You're not being just respectful by choosing what works for your season of life. And you can honor your parents, your grandparents, your aunts and uncles, and your traditions while also honoring the version of you who is exhausted, overwhelmed, or just wants a simpler holiday season. You're not dishonoring anyone by acknowledging your capacity. You're actually honoring your current stage of life and your kids' needs and your own well being. So I want you to think about this year's traditions honestly. Think which ones bring you true joy and true connection, and then which ones drain your joy. And if guilt disappeared for a moment, which traditions would you actually choose to keep or do away with? And once you see respect in this new light as something that includes your voice too, it becomes a lot easier to lean on your mindful living tools to stay calm in the moments that test you the most. When you choose not to confront something, your power comes from staying centered in yourself. Here's a quick pause and plant technique that you can use right at the dinner table and nobody even notices. I want you to practice planting your feet and feeling the floor beneath you, dropping your shoulders, loosening your jaw, softening your belly. And when you do this, inhale for 4 counts and exhale for 6. And this simple shift tells our bodies we're okay, we're in control, and we choose how to respond. And if you need a mantra to help you get through this, which is just a verbal reminder, you can remember phrases like, I'm good, or I don't have to match anyone's energy, or my peace is my priority this season. These tiny moments of mindfulness help you stay calm even when everything around you can be really loud. And because I know the season can stir up a lot all at once, I created something to support you beyond this episode that I'd love to share with you. Because I know it can feel a lot between family dynamics and schedules, expectations, and this invisible load that you're already carrying. So, to support you throughout the season, I created a free guide called Making Spirits Bright. It's a simple, calming resource that you can use to check in with yourself, to release some of these shoulds, and bring a little more intention, peace, and presence into your day, even when things feel busy and chaotic. Inside this guide, you'll find gentle prompts and grounding ideas that allow you to reflect and to rejoice on what actually matters to you and your family this season, not just on what's expected. You can download it by using the link in the show notes, and it's totally free. And my hope is that it feels like a soft landing for you when everything else can feel like a lot. Think of it as a little pause so that your nervous system stays calm in the middle of all of this holiday noise. And if you've been listening and thinking, this is exactly what I need, but I could use some deeper support, and not just for the holidays, but in motherhood overall, I want to tell you about my one-to-one private mom coaching. If you're a high achieving, professional, busy mom who holds it all together for everyone, but on the inside, you feel like you're stretched thin, snappy, and that you don't even recognize yourself anymore, you're really not alone. So many moms I work with tell me all the time, I should be able to handle this, or other people have it harder, while they're quietly functioning and running on empty. But in one to one private mom coaching, we create space for you where we really get clear on what's weighing you down, the guilt, the pressure, the expectations. And then we help you feel like yourself again and not just a mom on duty 24/7. We build practical tools so that you can show up with more presence and fewer reactive moments with your kids, because when you feel better, everyone around you feels a difference, especially your kids. So if you're ready for that next step beyond just the tips in the podcast, you can book a free 60-minute strategy call using the link in the show notes. We'll talk about what's going on, where you want to be, and see if this coaching together is a right fit. You don't have to keep doing this alone. You do deserve support too. So if you're able in this moment, notice the support beneath where you are, whether it be a chair, the couch, your car seat, wherever it is that you are, and let your body just be held for a moment. Picture yourself at the next family gathering and see yourself walking in as the you know you can be. The you who knows her triggers, her limits, and her values. Imagine someone making a comment that would usually get under your skin. And instead of reacting, see yourself pausing. Maybe you use one of the scripts. We're doing it differently this year, but thank you for understanding. Or I'm going to step away for a moment. I'll be right back. And watch yourself choosing these words with intention. And notice how it feels in your body, how it feels to protect your peace without a long explanation, without becoming reactive. See yourself changing the subject, shortening your stay, or stepping outside for a moment if you need to. And not out of anger, but out of care for yourself. And as you hold this image, remind yourself, my boundaries are allowed. My calm matters, and I choose how I show up. And when you're ready, bring your attention back into our space and know that you can recreate that moment whenever you need it. Amiga, thank you so much for spending this time with me today on the Free to Be Mindful podcast. I really hope that this episode gave you a little more language, more perspective, and a lot more permission to protect your peace this holiday season. Don't forget to grab your Making Spirits Bright guide using the link in the show notes. And if you're ready for deeper support, check out my one-to-one mom coaching and book your free 60-minute strategy call. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with a mom friend or an amiga mom or a sister, a comadre, a colleague, a mom who might need to hear this and know that she's not alone in this motherhood journey.